At 3:11 a.m., I was wide awake again, not groggy, not half asleep, fully alert, heart slightly racing, mind suddenly busy for no clear reason. If you're watching this, I'm willing to bet you know that moment. You didn't click this video by accident. You click because sleep hasn't felt natural in a long time, and deep down, you know something is off. Let me talk to you directly for a second. When you fall asleep fine, but wake up wired, when your thoughts suddenly start racing at night, when your body feels tired but your brain refuses to shut down, it's usually not your mattress, your age, or your bladder. It's often a hormone quietly running the show behind the scenes. That hormone is cortisol. Cortisol is your body's built-in alarm system. It's supposed to be high in the morning to wake you up and low at night so your brain can rest. But in many adults, especially after 45 or 50, cortisol flips its schedule. It stays elevated at night and drops when it shouldn't. When I started digging into real research, not trends or sleep hacks, something unexpected kept showing up. Not pills, not heavy supplements, liquids. Specific liquids taken in very small amounts at night were shown to send calming signals to the brain, stabilize nighttime blood sugar, and tell cortisol it was finally safe to power down. I didn't expect much. I tested 1 tablespoon nightly. That's it. Within days, something shifted. I stopped waking up at 3 a.m. My sleep felt deeper. My mornings felt calmer. And the science behind it finally made sense. In this video, we're revealing the 5 liquids I tried ranked from least effective to most powerful. Stay until the very end because the number 2 liquid shocked researchers when studies showed it could help restore the natural nighttime cortisol drop needed for real, uninterrupted sleep. You'll find the research references linked in the description below. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. How old are you? Drop it in the comments. We're reading every single one and replying because sleep struggles are more common than anyone admits. Now let's start with number 5. The liquid most people underestimate, even though it quietly sends one of the strongest calming signals to the brain before bed. Number 5, raw honey. The 5th liquid that transformed my sleep is raw honey. And before you dismiss this as some old wife's tale, let me share the fascinating science that made me a complete believer in its power. Raw honey works through a mechanism that scientists call the honey sleep cycle, and it operates on 2 completely different pathways in your body simultaneously. The first pathway involves your liver, which is the organ responsible for keeping your brain fueled throughout the night. Your brain is incredibly energy hungry and consumes about 20% of all the calories you burn even while you are sleeping. When your liver runs low on glycogen, which is its stored form of energy, your brain sends out an emergency signal that triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline to mobilize energy from other sources. This is exactly why so many people wake up between 2 and 4 in the morning with their hearts pounding and their mind suddenly alert. A study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that consuming a small amount of natural sugars before bed actually prevented this middle-of-the-night cortisol spike by keeping liver glycogen levels stable. Raw honey is particularly effective because it contains the ideal ratio of fructose to glucose, approximately 1:1, which allows your liver to slowly absorb and store the energy without causing blood sugar spikes. The second pathway is even more interesting and involves something called the tryptophan transport mechanism. Raw honey causes a slight rise in insulin, and this insulin helps clear competing amino acids from your bloodstream, allowing tryptophan to cross the blood-brain barrier more efficiently. Once in your brain, tryptophan converts to serotonin and then to melatonin, your sleep hormone. A tablespoon of raw honey contains approximately 17 G of natural sugars, and research from the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that this amount is enough to trigger the insulin response needed for optimal tryptophan transport without disrupting sleep architecture. The key to getting maximum benefits from raw honey is choosing truly raw, unprocessed honey rather than the clear golden syrup you find in most grocery stores. Real raw honey will be cloudy, may contain visible particles of pollen and propionolus, and will often crystallize over time. Take your tablespoon about 30 minutes before bed, and you can consume it straight from the spoon, dissolve it in a small amount of warm water, or mix it into one of the other liquids on this list for a synergistic effect. I noticed that on nights when I took raw honey, my sleep tracker showed significantly fewer nighttime awakenings, and I felt noticeably less groggy in the morning. But raw honey is just the beginning, and the next liquid works even faster to quiet your overactive stress response. But before we continue, if you have been enjoying the video so far, Hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more videos like this. Number 4, chamomile tea concentrate. The fourth liquid is chamomile tea concentrate. And while chamomile tea is certainly not a new discovery, the way most people prepare and consume it is completely wrong and prevents them from experiencing its true cortisoling power. Chamomile contains a compound called apigenin, which is a flavonoid that binds directly to benzodiazepine receptors in your brain. These are the same receptors targeted by prescription anti-anxiety medications like Valium and Xanax, but apigenin activates them in a much gentler, non-addictive way that promotes relaxation without the dangerous side effects or dependency issues. A randomized control trial published in the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology found that participants who consumed chamomile extract experienced significant reductions in generalized anxiety symptoms and showed measurably lower cortisol levels compared to the placebo group. Another study in the journal FA Medicine demonstrated that chamomile supplementation improved sleep quality scores by over 30% in people with chronic insomnia. The problem is that a single cup of regular chamomile tea simply does not contain enough apigen to produce these powerful effects. The studies showing significant results used concentrated chamomile preparations containing between 200 and 400 millimolars of chamomile extract, which would require drinking 6 to 8 cups of traditionally brewed tea to match. This is where the tablespoon method becomes essential. To create a concentrated chamomile preparation, you need to use approximately 4 chamomile tea bags or 2 tablespoons of dried chamomile flowers in just half a cup of boiling water. Let this steep covered for at least 15 minutes. Then strain and allow it to cool. This concentrated liquid should be dark amber in color and have a strong, almost bitter floral taste that indicates high agenin content. 1 tablespoon of this concentrate delivers the therapeutic dose that research has shown to be effective. Another option is to purchase liquid chamomile extract from a health food store and take 1 tablespoon diluted in a small amount of warm water. The timing of your chamomile dose matters significantly because apigenin takes approximately 45 to 60 minutes to cross the blood-brain barrier and begin activating those calming receptors. I found that taking my concentrated chamomile about an hour before my intended bedtime worked perfectly, allowing me to feel naturally drowsy right when I wanted to sleep rather than lying awake waiting for the effects to kick in. The calming sensation is subtle but unmistakable, like a gentle wave of relaxation that starts in your chest and gradually spreads outward. However, the next liquid on this list works through a completely different mechanism that addresses one of the most overlooked causes of high cortisol and poor sleep. Number 3, magnesium water. The third liquid is magnesium water. And understanding why this mineral is so crucial for cortisol regulation will completely change how you think about stress and sleep. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, and one of its most important functions is regulating the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is the system that controls your entire stress response. When you experience stress, your HPA axis triggers the release of cortisol from your adrenal glands. Magnesium acts like a brake pedal on this system, helping to shut off the cortisol release once the stressful situation has passed. Without adequate magnesium, your stress response gets stuck in the on position, continuously pumping out cortisol even when there is no actual threat. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that magnesium supplementation reduced cortisol levels by nearly 25% in chronically stressed individuals. Even more impressive, research from the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences showed that magnesium supplementation improved sleep quality, increased sleep time, and reduced the time it took participants to fall asleep, all while decreasing early morning awakening. The troubling reality is that an estimated 90% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. And this deficiency has reached epidemic proportions due to depleted soils, processed food consumption, and chronic stress, which actually depletes magnesium further. Your body burns through magnesium rapidly when cortisol is elevated, creating a vicious cycle where stress causes deficiency and deficiency worsens stress. The most effective way to rapidly increase your magnesium levels is through a highly absorbable liquid form rather than pills or capsules. Magnesium citrate and magnesium glycinate are the two forms with the best bioavailability and the least digestive side effects. You can purchase liquid magnesium supplements and take 1 tablespoon in the evening, or you can make your own magnesium water using magnesium powder mixed into filtered water. The glycinate form is particularly beneficial for sleep because glycine itself is a calming neurotransmitter that enhances the relaxation effects. I recommend taking your magnesium about 2 hours before bed because this allows time for absorption and gives the mineral a chance to begin calming your nervous system before you try to sleep. Start with a lower dose and gradually increase to 1 tablespoon because too much magnesium too quickly can cause loose stools as your body adjusts. Within the first week of consistent magnesium supplementation, I noticed that my muscles felt less tense in the evening. My mind was quieter when I laid down, and that frustrating feeling of being tired but unable to relax finally started to fade. The next liquid, however, contains a compound that actually signals your brain to produce sleep hormones on demand. Number 2, tart cherry juice concentrate. The second liquid is tart cherry juice concentrate, and this deep red elixir contains something that no other common food provides in such high concentrations. Tart cherries, specifically the Montmorency variety, are one of the only natural food sources of melatonin, the hormone directly responsible for initiating and maintaining sleep. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that participants who consumed tart cherry juice had significantly elevated melatonin levels, spent more time asleep, and reported better sleep quality compared to those who consumed a placebo beverage. But the melatonin content is only part of what makes tart cherry juice so powerful for cortisol and sleep. These cherries also contain high levels of anthocyanins and other polyphenolic compounds that have been shown to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, both of which can elevate cortisol and interfere with sleep. Research published in the American Journal of Therapeutics demonstrated that tart cherry juice reduced insomnia severity and decreased the amount of time participants spent awake during the night. Another fascinating study found that tart cherry juice consumption was associated with a significant reduction in cortisol levels following intense physical or mental stress. The key to getting maximum benefits from tart cherry juice is choosing a concentrate rather than a regular juice cocktail, which is often diluted and loaded with added sugars that can actually disrupt sleep. Pure tart cherry concentrate is thick, deeply colored, and intensely sour, indicating a high concentration of the beneficial compounds. 1 tablespoon of concentrate is equivalent to approximately 100 tart cherries, providing a therapeutic dose of natural melatonin and inflammation-fighting antioxidants. Mix your tablespoon of concentrate into a small amount of water or take it straight if you can handle the intense flavor. The timing is crucial because melatonin works best when taken approximately 1 to 2 hours before your desired sleep time. This allows the melatonin levels in your blood to peak right when you want to be falling asleep, mimicking the natural rise that should occur as darkness falls. Unlike synthetic melatonin supplements, which often contain doses far higher than what your body naturally produces and can leave you feeling groggy the next morning, the melatonin in tart cherry juice is released gradually and is accompanied by other compounds that support healthy sleep architecture. I found that tart cherry concentrate produced the most noticeable improvement in my ability to fall asleep quickly, reducing my sleep onset time from over 30 minutes to under 15 on most nights. The deep, restful quality of sleep also improved, and I woke up feeling genuinely refreshed rather than dragging myself out of bed. But as impressive as tart cherry juice is, it cannot compete with the number 1 liquid on this list, which attacks cortisol at its source and has been clinically proven to transform stress response and sleep quality in ways that researchers describe as remarkable. Number 1, ashwagandha root extract. The number 1 liquid that completely transformed my sleep and crashed my cortisol levels is ashwagandha root extract, and the scientific evidence supporting this ancient aromatic herb is so compelling that it has attracted the attention of researchers worldwide. Ashwagandha is classified as an adaptogen, which means it helps your body adapt to stress by modulating the systems responsible for the stress response rather than simply masking symptoms. A landmark double-blind placebo-controlled study published in the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine found that participants who took ashwagandha root extract experienced a 27.9% reduction in serum cortisol levels over 60 days. This is not a small change. This represents a fundamental shift in how the body processes and responds to stress. The same study showed that ashwagandha supplementation resulted in a 69% reduction in anxiety and insomnia scores, improvements that participants described as life-changing. Another study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine demonstrated that ashwagandha significantly improved sleep quality, reduced sleep onset latency, and increased total sleep time in adults with insomnia. The researchers noted that these improvements were accompanied by reduced anxiety and better overall mental well-being. What makes ashwagandha particularly fascinating is its mechanism of action. The root contains compounds called withanolites, which interact with the GABA system in your brain to promote calmness, modulate the HPA axis to normalize cortisol release, and support healthy thyroid function, which is often disrupted by chronic stress. Unlike pharmaceutical interventions that force changes in brain chemistry, ashwagandha appears to gently restore balance to systems that have been thrown off by prolonged stress exposure. The liquid form of ashwagandha extract, often sold as a tincture or concentrated liquid, offers faster absorption and more flexible dosing than capsules or powders. Look for products standardized to contain at least 5% withanolites, which ensures you are getting a therapeutic concentration of the active compounds. Take 1 tablespoon of the liquid extract approximately 1 hour before bed, either directly or mixed into warm water, warm milk, or combined with the raw honey mentioned earlier for a synergistic calming effect. The taste is earthy and somewhat bitter, which some find off-putting, but the results are so profound that the taste becomes irrelevant. Many people notice subtle improvements within the first week, but the full cortisol-lowering benefits develop over 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use as your body's stress response gradually recalibrates. During my testing, ashwagandha produced the most dramatic and sustained improvements of any liquid on this list. My resting heart rate decreased, my afternoon energy slumps disappeared, and most importantly, that wired but tired feeling at bedtime completely vanished. I began falling asleep easily, sleeping through the night without waking, and waking up feeling genuinely rested for the first time in years. The combination of ashwagandha with the other liquids on this list creates a comprehensive approach to cortisol management that addresses multiple pathways simultaneously, giving your body every possible tool it needs to restore healthy sleep patterns. These 5 liquids represent a complete natural toolkit for anyone struggling with high cortisol and poor sleep. Raw honey stabilizes your blood sugar and supports melatonin production. Chamomile extract activates calming receptors in your brain. Magnesium water replenishes the critical mineral your stress response depletes. Tart cherry concentrate provides natural melatonin and inflammation-fighting compounds, and ashwagandha extract addresses cortisol at its source while promoting deep restorative sleep. You do not need to use all 5 every night, though some people find that rotating between them or combining 2 or 3 produces the best results. Start with 1. Track how you feel and gradually experiment until you find the combination that works best for your body. The most important thing is consistency, because these natural compounds work by supporting your body's innate healing processes rather than forcing artificial changes. Give any liquid at least 2 weeks of nightly use before deciding whether it works for you. And remember that true cortisol balance develops over time as your stress response systems gradually reset and normalize. If this video helped you understand how to naturally lower your cortisol and finally sleep through the night again, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another video that could transform your health. Thank you so much for watching.